You're listening to Let Me Tell You Why You're Wrong, all on Georgia Radio Network. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and start the show.
I thought we had started.
We are here. It is episode 7. I am Jonathan Giles from All on Georgia Douglas, and I have a surprise for you, All on Georgia Carroll. So that's going on. If you're out in the West Georgia area, be sure that you head on over to All on Georgia Carroll. Check that out. We're there. We're running live streams of Temple, Villa Rica, Carroll County BOC, Carroll County Board of Education. All that's your one-stop shop right there. All on Georgia Carroll.
And all on Georgia Bullock and all the others too.
Yeah, and as you heard, we have Jessica Szilagyi here. She's from allongeorgia.com. And Matt Lowe from All on Georgia Paulding.
Yo.
It's been quite a week for Matt Lowe. He has started more fires in the city of Dallas. We'll get to that in a little bit. We've got a great show. We've got a lot coming up. This is the last week of the legislative session. Sine Die is the Thursday or is it Friday?
Thursday, the 28th.
It is Thursday. So if you haven't lost anything yet, you have almost escaped with your rights intact. But do know that throughout the rest of this week, the legislature is still there and still working against them. So, as I said, we've got the loser of the week coming up. It was a very, very tight, close race. It was such a tight, close race that I'd better actually scroll on over here and see who won. Because I legit do not know. Let's see. What do you think? You know what? I'm going to make that decision myself. I'm going to look now, but I'm not going to tell you guys until it's time.
That's ridiculous.
Why? I want the live reaction.
Fine.
She's mad.
Okay. You know what?
I act surprised.
No, don't tell.
Okay.
I wished that last week you would not have prepped her for that asinine comment that Dominic made about Adam and Eve. I wish we'd have got that reaction live.
Yeah, that would have been beautiful. I don't know how much of it I could have used because the volume. I mean the volume of it was so loud that I don't know that any of it would have been usable. But yeah, that was absolutely quite a reaction. Speaking of reactions. Have we had any commentary on last week's show? Anybody reached out to anybody and told them anything about the show last week? Anything that needs to be corrected, updated? Did we get everything right?
Jonathan reached out to me and told me that I can't say tonight.
Well, I mean, that's not really something we're going to put on the show.
He's so serious when he's hosting.
No, you know what? I haven't had anybody, but I would welcome anyone to send corrections, and we would acknowledge them, which I think would probably cause more corrections. like if we, you know what I mean? Like if people were like, "Oh, look at that," they acknowledge the fact that I emailed in and corrected them. Like people would do it more often.
Well,
we'll have a whole show of nothing but corrections from the last 6 months.
There's not a lot of correction because it's never, hey, you're wrong and this is correct. It's just a lot of, I don't like this.
The show overall is a correction. We're telling everyone why they're wrong. So obviously we're not wrong.
Right.
Obviously.
I agree.
We hold the Loser of the Week poll every week on Facebook, and that is at the Let Me Tell You Why You're Wrong Facebook page. If you're not following, be sure to follow. Lots of great stuff comes out there. That's actually the first place that you can usually get the show. Prior to the show coming on iTunes or Stitcher, Google Play, whatever podcast service you're using, a lot of times you can get the show first on Facebook. So if you're not following our Facebook page, be sure to do so because there's a lot of great information there. And speaking of Facebook, Facebook is now under fire, losing trust over some data sales, which, I'm going to say it's shocking to me because, not because Facebook is doing this, but because people didn't know that Facebook was selling their data. What business did people think that Facebook was in? Did they think that they had all these servers and all of this, all of these code, that they were just running a free service? I mean, what's the mentality here? You didn't know that Facebook was using your data.
Well, and I think it's funny too that there's another article on the Daily Mail about the WhatsApp founder saying that everyone should delete their Facebook profiles and protest Facebook and everything. And he actually sold his app to Facebook 4 years ago. And I just find it hard to believe that he didn't know the practices of the company when he sold his own company to them. And all of a sudden he's acting outraged.
Right.
Yeah,
it's pretty ridiculous that we're having all of this freak out. And look, I mean, Facebook, does some things that aren't exactly all that great with your data. You had to know what was going on. I think that we've all experienced the thing where we're, out at Walmart with a friend, or if you're Jessica, you're out at Target or out at the Cobbtown Mall. But in any event, you're out somewhere, you're shopping, you pick up a product, you look at it, you comment to a friend of yours about it that may be there with you, and next thing you know, you're scrolling through Facebook, and an ad for this product pops up in your Facebook feed, and you've never searched for this product, you've never done anything that leaves an internet footprint yet. Here it is. And, I think that we've all experienced that, and that should certainly be a clue that, hey, maybe I should pay attention to this. But
I got two things on that. One, I think the best quote that I've seen come out of all that was from a fella at Washington State University who he has an effort that's focused on digital literacy. But anyway, his name's Mike Caulfield. And he said that Facebook may say its business model is to connect the world, but it's really to collect psychosocial data on users and sell that to advertisers.
Sure.
And I thought that was just a very, yeah. So,
well, and look, here's the thing is, it goes back to the bare basics of economics. There's absolutely nothing that is free. And if someone is allowing you to use a service for free, they're getting something from you.
Right.
And you need to look and see what that thing is and make sure you're okay with it. Moving on from this sounds like a typical morning for me. We started on Facebook, and now we're moving over to YouTube. YouTube has a new policy. They're banning anything that promotes guns, bump stocks, any of that going on. So, and really, that if you follow that kind of stuff on YouTube, then you've kind of been aware that as well. This isn't exactly breaking news. It's this does seem to be the first time that YouTube has actually come out and just flatly said, yeah, we're doing this. But, if you follow the gun guys on YouTube, Jessica, I don't think that you probably follow those guys as closely as Matt and I do, but you notice that this is coming from a long way away because these guys have been disappearing for months, and their content is also disappearing as well. Facebook has taken away a lot of their motivation because they are not because you can't monetize this stuff anymore. So, like, I know some guys, and I'm not going to name drop, but I know some guys that used to make a fairly decent living making gun videos on YouTube, and they don't anymore because YouTube has completely stripped away their ability to monetize videos.
Well, this is always like a tough thing because you hate to see this, but at the same time, we're all at a minimum libertarians, not always anarchists, but we're all at a minimum limited government, private business has the right to do what they want to do. But I found it interesting in the article that we're all kind of talking about where it said that when you type in how to build a gun, it yields 25 million results. I mean, that's a lot of results for one video hub. And that's a lot of content that's going to be removed. And, if they're removed, I don't know if they're removing accounts or if they're just moving the videos, because some of the people later on said that they were actually restricted from posting content at all. But when you take away someone's account, I mean, you're taking away a user too, someone who views other videos. So they're kind of, circling the drain on themselves instead of actually limiting what's on the site.
Well, one exciting thing is that there is at least one other video provider which has agreed to pick up some of these gun bloggers.
Which is who?
Pornhub.
I saw
that. That's Pornhub. They do all kinds of fun stuff outside of porn.
Yeah. I will say,
I was about to stroke out right now.
Yeah, I agree with. I agree with Matt that they have done, like, I can't remember what city it was, but some city that got
up in the
devastated
Northeast
by a blizzard, and they sent
plowed the city.
Yeah, and I mean it was an absolutely brilliant mix of marketing and branding, because these were straight black trucks with that logo all the way down the door. Oh, and it got picked up by every media outlet around.
It did, and that was the headline: Pornhub Plow City.
I love the quote in this article on Bloomberg says, Pornhub has a history of being a proactive voice in the online community, as well as operating a resilient and robust video streaming platform. Those are some interesting adjectives for an online community. I look forward to, I can't wait until, like, a legislator's gun video shows up. Like, some of these legislators who have all these fundraisers and show themselves shooting guns. I can't wait till they're on Pornhub.
Right?
It's going to create a nightmare.
Yeah.
We're going to have to pay Paulette's $20. So I can watch my gun videos.
Speaking of all your liberties being taken away, in New York City, they're considering making smoking and walking illegal. You just can't smoke anywhere anymore.
Well, when you hear that, you think that it's because they think people aren't capable of doing two things at once. Like texting and walking is because it's a hazard to anyone who may be driving or also walking. But the reason is because it's unpleasant in New York.
Well, it's unpleasant in New York anyway.
Right. They're worried about the smoke in your face. I'm worried about getting shot, but whatever.
Guns are illegal.
Oh, and this is my favorite quote from this article. Smoking while standing in one spot would still be allowed.
I wonder how
the wind never blows in New York.
I wonder how far would they go in that enforcement?
I mean, we're talking about the NYPD, so...
Yeah, didn't they kill a guy a couple of years ago because he was selling cigarettes?
Yes, they did. They choked the guy out because he was selling untaxed cigarettes. Remember, folks, taxation is theft.
Yeah,
and if you don't pay your taxes, they'll kill you. No, there's a whole process. They won't actually kill you. Yeah, they'll kill you.
While some questioned whether a ban on walking and smoking would infringe on civil liberties, Sybil, S-I-B.
Sybil, like the crazy lady?
Civil liberties have been gone in New York City for so long, they don't even know how to spell it anymore.
It says, while some questioned whether a ban on walking and smoking would infringe on civil liberties, Coos said he's not concerned. Quote, "This bill is not against smoking, just don't do both together." So individually, you can have a civil liberty, but you cannot combine them.
You know, I
There's
love
no bundle.
I love the way that sounds just out of context. You know, it's we're concerned that may be against somebody's civil liberties. I'm not concerned about that. It sounds like a typical elected official, you know?
Okay, I am...
All right, what's going on with the fake Facebook post and the snake?
Okay, this is like the best story of the week, and the article that I sent you guys does not have the photo in it, but if you Google it, you can find it.
I've seen that photo several times, yeah.
It's been shared 150,000 times, and it's hysterical because, like, the mouth of this snake that is shared on this fake City of Calhoun Facebook page, first of all, they have it labeled as the wrong snake, like even I know that, but they're telling people that the snake came out of a sewer, so people are scared to walk down the street, and it's hilarious because the snake is, like, unbelievably large.
Yeah, it is. I've seen this photo. Perhaps we can get it up on the... Well, there's no point in putting it on the Facebook page because I don't want to spread fake news, and I'm sure everybody's already seen it anyway by now. But, yeah, it's... I mean, this is a massive, massive snake that they're calling a copperhead, and it's actually a rattlesnake.
I think it's an eastern diamondback, and it is a really large snake, but again, it's not copperhead. This City of Calhoun fake page, they did the story about an alligator that showed up on this boat ramp, right? And and then posted a couple days later a picture of a gator swimming with a deer. So it was huge, and said that the situation had become dangerous and city officials were going to drain a 1 mile section of the river. So everybody needed to make preparations. Like 10,000 comments into this thing, somebody finally goes, how the hell are they going to drain a part of the river?
You know, look, I'm sure, and I don't want to give any ideas here, but I'm sure that this is eventually gonna get there. There's eventually going to be some kind of draconian legislation that comes out of the legislature to stop it. You know, I am a huge fan personally of these fake city pages. Like, I love the City of Atlanta page.
Yes,
all of those, and there's a lot of them. And there's more and more that are coming online every day. And if you've got a good guy running it or a good girl that really has a good sense of humor, it is utterly amazing how much fun you can have with a fake city page. Yeah. And it was, the funny thing about it was that this was shared by multiple law enforcement organizations.
Oh, really? I missed that.
Yes. It was. It was shared by several different law enforcement agencies. Sad.
Hey, Jessica. Now's a good time for you to do the disclaimers.
So now would be a good time for us to remind you that the opinions expressed here are our opinions and not necessarily those of All on Georgia. So if you have any complaints about them, you can send them to carol@allongeorgia.com.
So, I don't know if everybody knows, what your government has been up to. There's, as any Georgia legislative session comes to a close, one of the things that marks the ending days are a lot of House resolutions. So what I'm going to do is we're just going to kind of go through these resolutions. And then, if anybody wants to stop and comment on one, then we'll stop and comment on it. We start with H.R. 354, Georgia Department of Education. Develop and provide a list of training materials to increase awareness of mental health issues and disabilities. Urge.
Well, hold on. I think it's important to remind everyone that resolutions have absolutely no teeth at all, unless, even if they're a constitutional amendment, they have nothing unless they are added to a piece of enabling legislation. So, the point is that all of these ideas are just ideas, and they're usually proclamations and things to put on campaign flyers. So keep that in mind as Jonathan lists off some of these.
Right, absolutely. What this is even if I read something, even if you think it's a good idea, understand that nothing is changing. This is the legislative equivalent of sending someone an unsolicited email. I mean, that's literally all that we have here. H.R. 446, Johnny Tolbert III House Study Committee on Heat Stroke, create. I'll stop right here because I know that we have some opinions on that study committee.
We do have some opinions on that study committee. First of all, why are we taking the opinion or the study recommendations or anything like that from legislators instead of medical professionals? Second, why are we paying legislators to learn about heat stroke when legislating heat stroke is not the proper role of government?
All right.
Matthew?
I mean, I've got nothing I can add to that. It was spot on.
We'd like to create a joint study committee. Oh, I'm sorry. This is H.R. 888. We'd like to create a joint study committee, that means both the House and the Senate, on converting closed hospitals to veterans' homes.
So this one is by State Representative Jason Spencer. And, I don't know.
It's kind of one of those things where, on the surface, it sounds like a good idea, but, if you sit and think about it long enough, I see a whole lot of monetary pitfalls in that.
So this is what a quote he said about that, Jason Spencer. The purpose is to maximize our bed capacity for veterans. We are at half eligible bed capacity with 2 veteran homes we have. The remaining closed hospitals in rural Georgia would provide that capacity if we can reconfigure them into veterans homes. Also, rural veterans would not have to travel to Augusta or Milledgeville. The end goal is to revitalize the rural hospital void because of the closures with a similar service. This idea could lead to more healthcare-related jobs around servicing the veterans that are there. Now,
first of all, wait a minute. Now, I mean, look, and this is going to come off sounding bad, but I'm not opposed to veterans. But when you just look at the number of veterans versus the total number of Georgia citizens, wouldn't it be a better idea to figure out how to reopen the hospitals?
Well, so I remember when this came out, I believe it was introduced last session or at the end of it or at some point, because I remember talking about it before. But a lot of what the hospitals down here do is then when there's a rural hospital, they only have 10 beds or something in the emergency room. So they'll add an additional service like physical therapy or a blood draw center or all these other, things that they can actually charge for. So I'm thinking that the idea, and obviously this is a study committee, so who knows what would actually come out of it. But the idea would be that she would add veteran services on top of what's already there. I mean, you can't just open a hospital that's been sitting empty for 2 or 5 or 10 years and just make it a veterans home. Someone owns it. There's a debt owed somewhere. There's equipment in there. It's not furnished for a veterans home. I mean, there's so many costs associated with this. It makes way more sense to attach it onto something that's already operating.
Right. And yeah, I definitely do understand that point of view. Next is going to be H.R. 913, House Study Committee on Incorporating Law Enforcement in the Pathway to Treatment and Social Services for Persons Having Challenges with Drug Use and Mental Health. Create.
What number is it?
H.R. 913.
I believe that one passed.
It did pass, but I'm opposed.
Oh, I mean, I agree. I'm just...
Somebody asked me why I'm opposed.
Why are you opposed?
Because that's part of the problem, is that what we have is we have law enforcement that is getting involved in a lot of these drug issues and a lot of these mental health issues, and that's really become one of the big mental health problems, is the fact that you have so many that are going into the criminal justice pipeline because there's no good entryway into the mental health system in Georgia, except, there's two ways. You can either do something criminally crazy and get yourself arrested, or you can run into an emergency room and say you're going to kill yourself. That's literally the only ways that you are going to get into Georgia's mental health system.
And even then, if you go into an ER telling them that you're thinking about killing yourself or whatever, they're going to ship you to a crisis center, which will keep you there for anywhere from 4 to 10 days, and then they're going to turn you loose.
Here we go. Here's something the government needs to get involved in. We want to encourage the state of Georgia to advise all public and private schools to educate students and parents about the dangers of meningococcal disease.
Katie Dempsey.
Oh, here we go. I'll get some opinions out of this. House Study Committee on Evaluating and Recommending on Continuing or Abolishing Daylight Savings Time.
Betty Price.
God. Look, am I the only one that thinks daylight savings time, or just a time change in general, is just stupid?
Look, here's the thing, is I look at it kind of like getting out of bed in the morning, okay? It sucks to get out of bed, but you know what getting out of bed in the morning means?
It means you're alive.
No, it means you get to go back to bed. So, the thing about it is I hate the spring. I hate daylight savings time. But I love that one night a year when I get to turn the clocks back. That makes it all worth it.
I've read
You are the boss of you. You can turn your clocks back any night you want.
Yeah, go to bed early.
I thought you were the boss of me.
No, I'm not. I can't believe that neither one of you are impressed that I'm able to guess who's sponsoring these bills.
I don't think you're guessing. I think you're clicking away.
I don't have any. My hands are here.
I could see her on the video.
My hands are here. Okay.
No, but anyway, I saw a study they were talking about on daylight savings time, and it was saying that there is a 24% increase in heart attacks and strokes on the Monday following the adjustment to daylight savings time. And on the flip side, in the fall, there is a corresponding decrease.
Can't we buy him a treadmill?
Well, this has to do more with the...
Sorry, folks, that's an old joke. If you haven't listened to this show from the beginning, you probably didn't get that reference and just think I'm,
right.
A horrible person. Yeah.
Go to episode 1. Click play.
We've covered that
While
in the
you're
archives.
there, give us a 5-star rating.
Please. We need those 5-star ratings on iTunes. And we're going to be coming up with a lot of new and exciting things pretty soon. We are in the process of getting some merchandise, getting some other things going on, so you can have your own Let Me Tell You Why You're Wrong gear, and we're going to be giving some of that stuff away. What we're going to do is we're going to go through, we're going to pick some 5-star reviews out through iTunes, through Google Play, through all of the services. We're going to pick a couple of 5-star reviews out, and we're going to send them some free stuff. So if you make those 5-star reviews, what we need you to do is not only make the 5-star review, screen cap the 5-star review, and post it on the Let Me Tell You Why You're Wrong Facebook page. That way we can go through, see all those people that entered, and get you some merchandise. So we've got that going on. Also, now would be a really good time to let you know about the new allongeorgia.com. Hold on, I'm doing horribly here. I don't have my thing up. Okay. All On Georgia recently launched an entirely new website. New look, new features, and new information from the same authors that you know and trust to bring you the most up-to-date information in an unbiased fashion. Visit allongeorgia.com and see the new design, find the market closest to you. So that's going on. We've got that going on. Over on the Senate side, we have less Senate resolutions, but there's also some fun going on there. We are having Childhood Cancer Awareness Day. We want to designate September the 1st as Childhood Cancer Awareness Day. I'm not gonna oppose that. I'll let that sit. State property, unauthorized vehicular traffic, provide closure. We'll let that one slide too, because I don't even know what that means.
Okay, so that one is, I'm pretty sure they closed the road between the legislative office building and the Capitol because people were driving too fast as all the legislators were crossing the street.
Well, okay. This one I've been meaning to get to, but I think about putting it on every show, but I keep forgetting. The Georgia coast, there's a bed of tidewater that is now known as Runaway Negro Creek. Runaway Negro Creek is a federal land. The Georgia legislature would like to rename that Freedom Creek because obviously Runaway Negro Creek is an offensive name. It's a 100-year-old name, but that's on a federal land. So we have to get the federal government to do it. And now we have one more House resolution to cover. And I intentionally skipped over that one because we're going to go long form on this one. So the last House resolution is H.R. 447. Jessica, can you tell us all about H.R. 447? Because you wrote an article about it, correct?
I did. I wrote an article last week on State Rep Paulette Rakestraw. It's on allongeorgia.com now, so you can go and read it. But basically, it declares pornography a public health crisis, saying that it's harmful beyond the capability of an individual to be able to address it alone, and that it's now serving as a form of sexual education for children and prepubescent teens, and children younger than teenagers. They've even specifically stated that in the resolution, but they said that it leads to low self-esteem, eating disorders, and an increase in problematic sexual activity because it depicts violence and sex and rape as harmless. So this actually, I believe it passed out of the House on Wednesday, and this is like the watered down version of what we've kind of touched on a few times with the porn tax, since that died thanks to Rakestraw's shenanigans and the company she keeps.
And by that you mean that psycho Chris Severe?
I do. Okay. I do. That's who I mean. So this is all that they could get done. And I'm sure that this is just laying the groundwork for, next session for something similar to come back. But because it's sponsored by many of the same problems in our recurring problems in our legislature, and it is co-sponsored. The number 2 sponsor is our previous loser of the week, State Representative Dominic LaRicci of Coffee County. So, no surprise there.
If you read through this thing, there's a whole lot of verbiage about adolescence and hypersexualization of teens and risky sexual behavior and problematic sexual behavior. And I'm typically not I don't tend to draw conclusions where they don't exist. But I think a reasonable person would assume that the more one has sex, the higher the likelihood that one may end up pregnant. And if you go over to the HHS.gov website and look at the birth rates, for females age 15 to 19, I mean, I could make the argument based on their very flawed logic in this House resolution that as porn has become more accessible, the birth rates have gone down. In 1990, there were 116.2 births per 1,000 females. Oh, no, wait, sorry. That's just black. So okay, this is an interesting chart. All right, so in 1990, per 1,000, there was 116 births for black females, 100 for Hispanics, 42.5 white births.
Well, I think it's interesting that, Paulette is pro-teen pregnancy.
Thank you.
These are some amazing numbers.
Can you include the ones of all people and not just blacks?
Well, that's what I was going through. It's a 3-tiered thing. It says Hispanic, black, and white.
Do you?
But okay, so
wait. Do you have a calculator app on your computer?
Yeah.
Okay, if you could add those 3 numbers up, that would be fantastic.
You could just add all those numbers together. 169.5 total.
That's what it is now.
Per 1,000?
Yep.
And what was it then?
169.5 total.
Then?
Yeah, in 1990. And in 2014, which is the latest data that they have, it is 90.
That's almost half.
Right? So that's what I'm saying. As porn has become more accessible, teenage birth rates have gone down. So, my guess is that more dudes are just spending time in mom's basement, but whatever.
Keep in mind, everyone, that over the next few weeks, you will soon be able to watch gun videos on all of your favorite porn sites. So,
Pornhub. I bet those are going to be some interesting video titles.
I agree.
I want to see some of our legislators.
Guns, God, gravelly, and porn.
Right.
All right, so it is time for the loser of the week.
Loser.
What was that?
Loser.
This week it was a very, very tight race. You think that your vote doesn't matter? I want you to know, people, this race was decided by one vote. There was one vote of difference between the winner, the loser, as it was, and the second place finisher. Coming in with one more vote is our man, Wendell Willard.
Really?
You are this week's loser of the week. Take a guess at who was in second place.
Chris Carr.
Absolutely not. Chris Carr was a distant third.
Interesting. I guess because people know he'll be there every week.
You may very well be correct, but yeah, it was a neck and neck race between Wendell Willard and Dominic LaRicci. So,
congratulations, Dominic, on garnering the top votes 2 weeks out of the 2 weeks.
2 weeks out of the 2 weeks. So, folks, if you don't remember, the reason why Wendell Willard won this week's Loser of the Week is because he is responsible for pushing through dead hate crime legislation through a really schemy, slimy kind of way. So that's what he did. So for
the whole
this
story,
week,
you can go back to episode 6.
Yes, please listen to episode 6. You'll find out all about it and hear a great story. So, who do we have for this week's Loser of the Week?
You know, I want to nominate Paulette Rakestraw.
Second.
All right, so we have Paulette Rakestraw. This is not actually a government meeting. We're not following Robert's Rules of Order here. So
well,
I don't actually need a second.
Well,
but thank you.
I just want to make sure that's clear.
Yeah, we're all three equally co-hosts, so if somebody says they want somebody on the poll, I'll put them on the poll. Which puts you in a difficult spot now, Jessica, because now I think he's taking your pick away, so who do you want on the poll?
State Senator Renee Unterman for her sponsoring of Senate Bill 336, which allows law enforcement to obtain your cell phone records and other digital documents related to online communications without notifying you when it's been subpoenaed. So she created like a little NSA-like bill co-sponsored by Josh McCoon, Butch Miller, and Gloria Butler. So I will nominate her because it passed the House this week. I will nominate her because it passed the House last week.
Wow. All right. And, of course, Chris Carr is always on the poll. Has anybody had any experiences with the Attorney General this week?
I have not.
You're close, though. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, I filed some open record requests with the city of Dallas over there's a brew pub that has been under construction for a long time, a year and a half, maybe even 2 years now. And I just filed the ORRs with the city to kind of look over it and see exactly what the holdup was, because I don't think that I'm going to get the entire story from anyone at the city or from the applicant. So I figure it's easiest to just start looking at all the documents and go from there. And I got a reply via certified letter from the city attorney. And like I showed it to Jessica, and you know, she flipped out because she like immediately saw several violations with the Open Records Act.
4, to be exact.
4. So I don't know. I think that given that attorney's reputation and the way that he responded to that initial request, I think that this will end up as a complaint with the Attorney General's office. I did tell y'all I got a phone call from the city clerk, didn't I?
You did. Tell us a little more.
Yeah, tell the audience. This is a podcast.
She was upset over the things that were being said on Facebook, that the city absolutely was not stonewalling or delaying. It just took time to get all of the documents together because apparently I asked for a lot. And I had to explain to her that I understood that getting those things took time, but the law stated there were specific things that response needed to lay out timeline-wise and monetarily that it did not, and that's why they were in non-compliance.
There's more concern for what's being said and how they look than there is for what they're actually doing and whether or not it's in compliance with the law.
That is very, very true. You can read more on that on allongeorgia.com. Jessica, what can they read from you on allongeorgia.com? Other than porn and strippers.
Well, alcohol, if you want to add another sin.
Alcohol.
Yeah, the city of Claxton is going to allow voters to decide if they want to allow liquor and mixed drinks at the restaurants in town. So,
if it pleases the crown.
Actually, if it pleases the people. I'm really glad they're going to put it to referendum. So, even though, I mean, they could decide if they wanted to, they're going to put it to the people. So, do we have any closing remarks this week?
All right, look, I haven't eaten dinner yet. I'm going to go eat.
Toodaloo.
All right.
Later.
Bye.
Later.